Watch me connect these 3 random quotes for a solid and stellar show opening. Food for thought. A good book can help you think. And I think I need another beer. Wow. I am Evo Terra, and this is the Books and Beer Hangout.
Welcome to another episode of the Books and Beer Hangout. My name is Jeff Moriarty, and our topic today, how to publish a cookbook. So we will get things started by letting our wonderful guest introduce himself. Please give us a little bit about your background and biography, and let us know what kind of beer you're drinking.
Hi guys, thanks for having me tonight. This is a lot of fun. Let's start with my name. I'm Chef Mario Porreca. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so it's a little later here than it is where you guys are. But that's okay. I'm a night person anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm a chef. I'm an author. I've authored 2 cookbooks. I have my 3rd one in the process right now. It's in the editing process. It's not really a cookbook. It's actually my first hand at actually writing a book. Still having to do about food, still having to do about cooking. So I've kind of branched off into that arena. I have I've worked with chefhangout.com, which is a website where you can actually use Google Plus Hangouts, which we're on right now, to actually take cooking classes in your own kitchen, which we can talk about a little more later. I also have my own TV and radio shows locally that are launching this fall, and I have my own spice line that is launching within the next month or so. So I keep really, really busy. Beer-wise, tonight I am drinking, this is an oldie but a goodie. This is a classic that we used to drink from way back in the day. It's a local beer. It's Yuengling from Pottsville, PA, Amber Lager, one of my favorites, good stuff. So it's our tailgate beer, really. When we go to Steeler games and we tailgate, this is what we drink. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this, and then you guys can go ahead and ask away.
Right on, Mario. So just so if you don't know this, the Yuengling Brewery, the oldest brewery still operating in America, one of the classic stories of beer. And yeah, it sounds like you've got nothing but free time on your hands. You've got really nothing to do. It's really, wide open.
Yeah. I pretty much I lay around all day. I'm on a permanent vacation. Sunbathe in the afternoons. No, I keep myself busy, but it's fun when you're doing something you like to do. And I've been on the other side too, because I'm a classically trained chef to begin with. So for about 7 years, I worked in the #1 city club in America. I was a sous chef there, and it was a great experience. But the hours, the workload, the stress, it was a lot to handle. And I actually left there to become a consultant with a nutritional company, which I use their products and love them. So I started working with them, and they're actually who hooked me up to write my first cookbook, because I didn't know anything about writing cookbooks, so I just started compiling things for my first one. When this company that I worked with found out that I was doing that, they said, "Hey, would you write one for us?" And I said, "Okay." So I started over right in the middle of this other one, wrote one for them, and they published it through their publisher. And then once that one hit, I got back to my other one, and I finished my second cookbook, which is titled The Good, the Bad, the Cookbook. And so that one was published, and now I'm on to the 3rd one.
Wow, okay, so you got way ahead of me. So 4 things I want to come back to, not the least of which is your own line of spices. So I know when people have their own line of clothing, they have to wear them. So now I picture you with a utility belt like Batman, and you're Mario, Sage, and you're throwing that in. So my beer, though, focusing. So I, again, think I've made another bad decision in terms of the Books and Beer. So I thought, okay, we're talking cooking here, so I wanted to get something with some real clear ingredients and something that was interesting. So I went with McKellar's Beer Hop Breakfast, which is oatmeal stout brewed with coffee. So I've got coffee, I've got hops, and I'm over here chewing this beer.
Yeah, that's a thick beer, man.
Yeah, so very good, probably poorly timed.
The Swedes or Norwegians or whatever they are up there, they make some thick beer.
So did you miss breakfast today? Is that why you wanted the oatmeal and the coffee?
Well, hey, coffee and beer I can do any time of the day. I do not discriminate. So do you ever cook with hops?
Have I ever cooked with hops? I haven't cooked with hops. I've cooked with beer many, many times, obviously, but I've never cooked with straight hops. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. That'd be something fun to play with.
Yeah, yes. Okay, Evo, your beer. You're easily sidetracked in this.
Yeah, this is a sidetracking show anyhow. So I went good old standard, the 18th anniversary wood aged by Great Divide, which is one of the most impressive beers I've found this year. I am all kinds of excited. Double IPA, tasty, wonderful, and warm. Love it. Love it.
All right, now that we have all that out of the way, so, Mark, how many cookbooks, what's your total cookbook count as of today?
As of today, I have 2 that are published. And I have a third one that's in the editing process. But the third one's, like I said, it's not a cookbook. It's a book about food and cooking, about my experiences and different things that I've gone through over my many years of food travels.
All right. So my first question is to you, what makes a good cookbook?
Well, what makes a good cookbook? That's such a tough question because there's so many different cookbooks about so many different things, and food is such a vast, vast area. There's ethnic cuisines. There's different things that you might like that I don't. So you can't. It varies from person to person. Personally, cookbook construction goes, I would say it has to have pictures. I mean, because that's the first thing people notice when they pick up the cookbook. It has to have bright, colorful, popping pictures that just basically jump off the page at you. You want to look at it and say, man, I want to eat that now. That's the first thing. The other thing is it has to have recipes that are very organized. It can't be scattered all over the place. They can't be written poorly because there's nothing more frustrating than seeing a great recipe and trying to cook it and it coming out completely different than what it looks like or what it's supposed to taste like. So the main parts are it has to have fantastic pictures that really catches someone's eyes, and then it has to have concise, very specific recipes that someone can follow and reproduce it. Because a recipe essentially is just a set of instructions to get you a controlled result. That's basically all a recipe is. And if you can't follow those instructions to get to that result, then it's like getting instructions for anything and it's just not panning out. It's really frustrating is what it is.
So it's interesting to me that the way you just described a cookbook. So I know some people who read them for fun. One woman, she's like, she doesn't read novels or anything else. She will take a cookbook, go out in her hot tub. It's not an instruction manual to her. She likes to read them, and she says she won't make half of it. She'll read every recipe. So it's a very different experience for her. So it's interesting. I expected, I guess, more of a reply along those lines. So do you view them more as that instruction manual?
Well, my biggest thing was when I wrote my cookbooks, and the reason I wrote them, I own probably easily over 200 cookbooks in my library, but those are from the past 10 years. Being a chef, that's expected of me to have those, to read them, to learn from them. But what I noticed was going into family members. I have a lot of aunts that love to cook, and we're an Italian family, so we get together once a week, and especially on holidays. So we do the whole old school Italian thing. What I noticed was there's a lot of cookbooks that people have, but typically they only use 1 or 2 of those cookbooks, and typically they only use 1 or 2 recipes out of those. And usually they do the same recipe so many times that they don't even need the book anymore. They just know it from doing it. So I wanted to come out with a cookbook that people would actually use. So that's my train of thought for a cookbook was always, I want you to get the book, but unless you use the book, like you said, your friend, I don't know how often she goes out and reads cookbooks, and that's awesome. But does she read them more than once? Will she read it over and over again? If you're using the recipe, you're going to open my book 6, 7, 8, 10, infinite number of times, and I'm right there. So when you see me and you keep using my book, now that gives me the opportunity to branch out in different avenues and really contribute to you and your life and help you with cooking. Cooking is very important to a lot of people. They want to be able to cook, and even more so today with all the mainstream media, all the stuff on the internet, all the stuff on TV. So I want to be able to actually help you. But my philosophy as far as cooking goes, going into the whole cookbook thing, is you've heard the old proverb, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. But if I can teach a man to fish, then I can feed the whole world. So that's basically how
way
it is.
meta, and that's cool.
Okay.
Cooking meta.
I like the meta. So I know Evo's got some questions, but I'm going to put you on the spot real quick.
Great. I like this.
You had 200 and some cookbooks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, your baked Alaska has ignited the drapes. The house is burning down. You can only save one on your way out the door. Which one is it?
Which cookbook do I save? The Guide to Modern Cookery, Escoffier. Do you have that cookbook? For me, I mean, for a home chef, They may want to grab something else, but for me, I need the Escoffier book because it takes me from A to B, all the way from sauces through vegetable cookery, through proteins, old school, hardcore methods, that no matter what, if I'm stumped on an idea, I can open that book, and no matter how crazy it is, it can give me something that I haven't thought of yet. So I'm getting the Guide to the Art of Modern Cookery by Escoffier. That's like the Bible of cooking, for me anyway.
Wow. I've got more questions. I'm going to let Ivo get his turn.
Can I talk now? So Mario, there's you want to do something different. You said that earlier a couple of times actually. You're really trying to do some different things on there. So Jeff and I, who live kind of in this publishing world, we always embrace people, authors of cookbooks, who want to do things differently. So I'm curious what you have found that the digital publishing space, whether that's just the tools that exist today that didn't exist before, or even some of the new readers that are coming out with. How are you reaching people today as a cook, a chef with a cookbook that you couldn't have done 10 years ago?
Well, it's really awesome because I have an iPad myself, and I have a lot of books in my iBook library that are cooking books. And the good thing about it is I can be sitting. Ideas strike from every angle at any time of the day, and I'm a firm believer that when you have an idea or inspiration, you have to go with it, and you have to go with it right then, because an hour from now it might be gone. So there have been times where I'm sitting thinking, man, I want to make a good sandwich, and it popped in my head. So I'll get my little iPad out, and I'll go into iBooks, and I'll look up sandwich books, and I'll find one, and I'll buy it, and then I have it for later. Now my inspiration's kind of saved there. I can go back and rediscover that idea. So it gives you a way that you can actually grab whole pieces of text right away without having to leave your house, without having to spend a ton of money, because it makes it much more affordable. Now I can get 5 or 6 cookbooks for the price that 10 years ago I could only get 1 cookbook. So it lets you get more that are more affordable, and it lets you get it right away. And then you can take it. They make all these little gadgets where you can put it actually in your kitchen, like on a stand or whatnot, and just follow the recipe right there in your kitchen. So, and it's something where if you do that and you keep your you can keep all your recipes, whether they're books, whether they're recipes that you just have on your computer or whatnot, all in one place instead of having, I know my mom used to have a little wooden box with a bunch of cards in it with recipes on it. We don't need that anymore because we have it right on these little devices that we can use, and we can just pull new stuff onto them at any time. So it's fantastic. I'm really a big fan of it myself.
So I'm curious, that cookbook you mentioned that was, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the author's name again, because you'll tell me that in the chat window somewhere. We'll put it in the show notes because, yeah, good luck on that one. So I'm curious, that is a physical book, right?
Uh-huh.
That is a physical book. So how could that book be improved? If it were digital format, would it just be the same thing you have right now, or would you do some different stuff with it if you were going to rewrite it today, make it a sequel?
I actually, you mean the one that he asked, that Jeff asked me about, that I would grab them? I think they actually do have that one in digital format. I bought mine before the digital format came out. But honestly, that's one of the books that I don't think can really be improved. I think that if you're going to improve it in any way, pictures would probably be the only thing that would improve it, because there's no pictures in it. But it covers everything from beginning to end. And Escoffier, there's the name again, who wrote the book, is the father of modern cookery. So, I mean, he's classical. So that's something that you really don't see a lot of anymore. But back then, they used to use so many different ingredients and do so many different things with those different ingredients that if you go back, old becomes new again. It's that whole thing. So when you go back and see it, it's something that says, hey, I haven't seen this in a long time. Let's try that. And it helps you out with that. So it's a great reference.
I'm, again, minor foodie, and I'm not a very good cook, but I enjoy what the changes in digital are bringing to that medium and some of the ideas that I've heard out there. Not just the pictures, but pictures of different stages of a dish, or even getting crazy and saying, cookbooks that learn. Okay, well, you've used these salmon recipes out of this book. Here's one out of the back of the book that maybe you didn't know was here. Making recommendations and learning and stuff like that. What changes or things that are coming out in terms of digital books are interesting to you in terms of cookbooks and how they might be used differently in the future?
I mean, it's just amazing the way technology is going. There's a lot of different things that people can do with digital formats. And when you say digital books, are you just talking about like actual books that you buy online, or are you talking about like any digital media that you see with cooking? Because there's a ton of different stuff out there.
Well, okay, so maybe there's an interesting question there. Like when you just mentioned Escoffiers, did I even come close on that name?
That's close, yeah.
I'll take it.
Good, you're paying attention.
Yeah, definitely. The beer hasn't gotten that far down yet. You said it was, there's a digital version of it, but that's really just an electronic version of the print media.
Exactly.
And, as cookbooks become more interactive and as they show videos at different stages, you don't know how to saute mushrooms? Well, here's a little video that shows you how. At some point, they may not even look like books anymore. They may be almost like a cooking application, but the core objective, teaching someone how to cook, is still there. Do you consider all of those cookbooks, or what does a cookbook look like anymore? I'm getting a little esoteric here, so sorry. But.
Well, no, that's a great question. I mean, that's something that we really need to think about because, like we talked about at the beginning, to me, a cookbook is that objective of teaching someone how to cook, bettering that someone can use my inspiration is I want someone to use my book to make their life better. Someone says, I want to learn how to cook. I want to cook better for my family. I want to make this, spaghetti, whatever. I want them to be able to use my book to positively impact their life and make it better. Whether it's from a book that I wrote, which is essentially a compilation of recipes with some print in there, some of my own thoughts and ideas that I put in there, or whether they go to my website and get a recipe or go to my YouTube channel and get a video. It's all cooking. It's a medium to convey cooking principle, basically. So I would say if we were going to classify cookbook, would actually be a book, whether it be a book that you buy online through Kindle or iBooks or the Nook or whatever, or whether you buy a hard book like I have here of my book, how it's a physical book. It's a shameless plug, but so that's that's how I see a book. It's a compilation of recipes with pictures and some fun, little notes and things in there to help you out along the way, and it's just a fun thing to use and something that can really bring a positive impact on your life with your goal of wanting to learn how to cook or work with food.
So I know the digital landscape has changed the way you're interacting as a chef and as a publisher with your, chefhangout.com and so on. Has the either digital publication of your cookbooks or the other work that you're doing changed the types of recipes that you put in it? Has it changed the way you construct your cookbook? Like, do you look for more visually engaging dishes or, following trends or?
Not to this point in my career, it hasn't. I'm sure one day it will, because to this point in my career, the digital media that I have out there is just a copy of what I wrote previously. It's just a way for you to buy it online, to buy my book exactly as it is, but buy it online. So I'm sure in the future, I've often thrown around the idea of ebooks and how they can help because, for a lot of people who want let's face it, almost everyone at one point in their life has the dream of writing a book. It crosses their mind at some point. And it's very it's a big undertaking. It really is. I'm sure you guys know better than anyone. It's an undertaking in itself, and it comes with cost involved, and it comes with a lot of work and whatnot. But if you can write an ebook, then that really helps a lot of that process along because you don't have to pay to have books warehoused. You don't have to pay to have books printed. You don't have to, so that gives the average person more of a chance. And who knows, there may be I'm sure there is a genius out there somewhere who in the past could have never published a hardback book, but now through media and through the e-publishing actually has a chance to get their ideas out there and get them known. So I'm sure one day it will impact the way we think about food and the way that I think about it recipe-wise, because maybe, like I said, I'll get inspiration for an idea that will just strike one day, and I'll have the means to go ahead and get it out there faster than I would if I had to go through all the back work and all the backlogging of traditional publishing.
Okay, so I have to keep checking my mute button here so you don't hear me chewing this crazy beer. So getting kind of way out there, right? With all the different technology that's out there, GPS, and video and all the stuff that you have even just in iPads and iPhones. What would be sort of your dream cookbook? I mean, really just kind of getting out there 5-10 years. If you could take anything and pull it together, what would you love to be able to do to help someone learn how to cook? Use those recipes that you're putting in there in a way that you can't right now.
What I would really like to do is I would like to take, I just want to write a book. It's hard to say because I cook a little differently than a lot of chefs, a lot of professional chefs. I have different ideas about when it comes to food. I like to, my thing is, how Thomas Edison with the light bulb failed however 10,000 times or whatever. I fail a lot when I'm doing recipes. There's a lot of recipes. Some of them turn out on the first try, and that's fantastic. But sometimes I'll get a crazy idea, and it takes 10 or 15 tries for it to come out, but when it does, it's good. So I would like to do a book of just like my take on, different foods, my take on Italian, my take on Chinese, my take on, just not traditional now, because people, when they've come to expect a certain standard and a certain Italian has to be pasta. Well, yeah, I could do pasta in some way, but I want to do it in my way. So I would like to take, and what I would need for that is more time, a lot more time, and I would have to really establish myself to the point where I know when it comes out that I'm going to have a broad enough audience that it's going to be really worth that time, because time is money, and everyone knows that. The more time I need to put into a certain project, the more I need to make sure my return on investment is going to work out. So to do that's a big project, a big undertaking right there. And that would be something in the future that I would like to tackle, like Italian My Way would be like the title or something like that, something fun.
I did Italian my way. Sorry. I know. I'm not going to make a career in singing anytime soon. So, Mario, we're nearing the end of the program here. So what final tips have you got for a chef or a foodie who might be wanting to put out a cookbook?
Just do it. I mean, you don't have, just because you want to do it and you don't think you have the means to do it, doesn't mean you shouldn't start doing it. So, if you want to do it, start compiling, start thinking about it, because when I went through publishing my first book, it came out. It actually was publicly published a year after my anticipated date. I had to go through. I went to one publisher, and right when it was going to print, they decided to change the terms of the contract. So I had to leave them, find another one, and then when I found them, we had to start all over from the editing process all the way through again. So, and it was very frustrating because I wanted to get it out there, and after all the work I put into it, but at the same time, nobody else knew. No one knew that it was supposed to come out this day because I didn't release that up until that point. So the same thing was, that's the same advice I have for other people. If you want to do it, and even if you can't do it today, start. Just get in. You can't do something if you don't get into action. So start getting it together. You never know what's going to happen in the future, what breaks you might get, what might go where. And people don't know. It's not when you first start it, you don't have a deadline. So just start getting stuff together, start compiling, start getting your ideas down, and then do your homework, do your research. Get online. We have Google out there now that can find anything. If you type the letter A in it, it'll pull up every page with the letter A on it. So just start looking around, look at publishers, look at the way other successful people have done it. Talk to other people who have done it, search them out, watch different things, and then just do it, because a dream is still a dream unless you put action into it. So you got to do something, you got to make a move, and then that's the best of it. Learn as you go. I mean, that's what I did. I made a lot of mistakes, and if I had to do it again, I could, and I'm using that today. But it happens, so just do it. That's my advice. Like Nike says.
You'll be sued if you say that. So we'll say just start. How about that?
Okay, there you go.
Start. But on the topic of starting, we have to stop because that is a wrap for the Books and Beer Hangout. Thanks very much, Mario, for joining us today. And thanks to all of you out there for watching the show, however you found us. We record the Books and Beer Hangout live Thursday nights at 6 p.m. It's on Google Hangouts on air and a simulcast on YouTube Live. Links to all of our prior episodes are available, as well as more information about our guest and all of his work can be found at booksandbeer.com. For more insight and education to help authors survive and thrive in a digital world, please visit epublishunum.com. For Jeff Moriarty, I'm Evo Terra. Thanks for watching.